In the last retro review, I took a look at Royal Rumble 2008. Now, I'm going to jump forward a year and take a look at No Way Out 2009 and one of the best uses of telling a story using the Elimination Chamber throughout the night. No Way Out 2009 took place in the Key Arena in Seattle, Washington in front of 11,200 people and had a buy rate of 272,000. The show opens up with a video package recapping the feuds for tonight's show, set to Hunt You Down by Saliva, which is the event's theme. We get the opening pyro and are welcomed to the show by good old JR Jim Ross. The WWE Elimination Chamber match will kick us off. The Undertaker enters first and takes his spot inside of a pod. Then out comes the Big Show, followed by Vladimir Kozlov and Triple H. So, of course, there's our four who will start the match inside of the pods. This means that former WWE Champion Jeff Hardy, who lost the title last month at the Royal Rumble event, will be kicking us off alongside the current reigning defending WWE Champion Edge. Jeff Hardy rushes Edge from the start and hits a couple of clotheslines on Edge before being hit with a big boot. Edge begins working over Jeff using the ropes to hit a splash to Hardy's back. Jeff turns things around after hitting a head scissors out of the corner, followed by a leg drop to the midsection and a drop kick. Jeff goes for a twist of fate, but Edge reverses, looks for the execution, but this time it's Hardy who reverses and finally hits the twist of fate. Hardy looks to put Edge away early with the Swanton Bomb, but Edge rolls out of the way. The Radar Superstar looks to put away Jeff Hardy with a spear, but gets caught when he's charging in with an inside cradle. 1, 2, 3. Edge is eliminated, and we are guaranteed a new WWE champion in our opening contest here tonight. Edge can't believe it. His title reign is over, and he will not be going to WrestleMania 25 as champion, getting eliminated early before the next man can even enter the match. The clock then begins to count down, and it is Vladimir Kozlov who is released from his pod, and he nails a big boot on Hardy before working over Jeff in the corner. Jeff targets the leg of Kozlov to try turn the match around. He goes to the top, but Kozlov lands a big headbutt to the midsection while Jeff was in mid-air. Out on the floor, Kozlov uses the chamber to his advantage, sending Jeff into the steel chains before a fall-away slam sends Jeff over the top rope back into the ring, and Kozlov can only get a 2 count off the following pin. Kozlov then places Hardy on the top rope and continues to work over the midsection with headbutts and a boot before hitting another with fall-away slam for a 2 count. Kozlov slows Jeff down, working over the midsection of the high flyer with a waistlock. Hardy fights his way out, but Kozlov lands a big shoulder tackle. He picks Jeff up onto his shoulders, but Jeff reverses, sending Kozlov into the corner where Jeff hits his corner dropkick. He goes for an Irish whip, but Kozlov reverses, sending Hardy into the corner, but this allows Jeff to whisper in the wind. Both men are down, and the countdown begins for our next entrant. Big Show is next to leave his pod, and he goes straight for Hardy. Show and Kozlov both work over Hardy, trying to one-up each other. Jeff tries to fight his way back, but is cut off by a headbutt by the Big Show, and the two heels continue beating down before Kozlov charges at Big Show with a battering ram, and they begin trading blows. The next entrant is then released into the match, and it is none other than the Game, Triple H. Game takes out Big Show and Kozlov with big knees. Show goes for a splash but misses and is hit with a spine buster. In comes Jeff, who looks for a twist of fate, but he's pushed and hit with a clothesline. Kozlov charges at Triple H, who low bridges Kozlov over the top rope onto the steel flooring. The two fight on the floor before Kozlov is sent headfirst into a pod, and this allows Triple H to set him up for the pedigree, but Big Show is there to make the save. Show then works over the Game while Kozlov works over Hardy. Big Show goes for a chokeslam, but Triple H fights out but is caught into a press slam. Big Show works over Triple H some more on the outside of the ring, splashing him against the chain. Jeff turns things around on Kozlov and tries to dive out onto Big Show, who catches him and sends him flying into Triple H against the chain. Show looks for another splash, but Hardy and Triple H are able to move out of the way. Back in the ring, Kozlov misses a double clothesline, and the two faces work together to land a suplex. Jeff Hardy and Triple H then turn their attention to one another as Triple H whips Hardy into the corner, allowing the charismatic Enigma to hit Whisper in the Wind. With everyone down, the countdown appears and the dead man is finally released into the matchup. Taker goes right after Big Show before turning his attention to Kozlov. Taker then grabs Hardy and Triple H for a double chokeslam. Kozlov charges but eats a big boot from Taker, but Big Show is able to take out the dead man from behind. Taker once again takes control with a diving clothesline on Show. He turns his attention to Triple H and looks for Old School, but he dives to the Big Show on the outside. Show catches Taker, but Taker is able to turn it into a DDT onto the floor. He goes for Old School again on Triple H and lands it this time. Kozlov Kozlov then takes control and works over Taker with punches in the corner, but The Undertaker's able to get Kozlov up for the last drive, and that is it for Kozlov as he is eliminated. Big Show then comes back in and hits Undertaker with a chokeslam. Triple H looks to pedigree the Giant, but he's backdropped out to the floor. Jeff gets sent over the top rope onto Triple H. Big Show once again sends the game into the steel. He turns his attention to Jeff Hardy, who fights back with boots. Jeff goes to the top, but Big Show grabs him and throws him into the chain, but Hardy is able to hang on and climb up the wall of the chamber and climb up onto the top of one of the pods. Show opens the pod and he tries to pull Hardy down, trapping him on the roof of the pod. Big Show then climbs up to the top rope. He's working over Jeff Hardy with punches before he is joined on the top rope by The Undertaker, and The Undertaker suplexes Big Show from the top rope. Pedigree to the Big Show by Triple H, followed by a big swanton bomb by Jeff Hardy from the top of the pod. Triple H goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3. All three men working together to eliminate the Big Show. Now that we're down to our final three, Jeff goes for a whisper in the wind on Taker, but the dead man is able to move out of the way. Triple H then begins to work over Taker in the corner before Taker reverses and sends Triple H over the top rope onto the steel. The dead man turns his attention back to Hardy and looks for old school, but Triple H pushes him down, crotching Taker on the top rope. Jeff then uses The Undertaker to launch himself over the top rope onto Triple H, similar to the poetry motion move which the Hardy Boys used as a team. Taker then grabs Hardy from over the top rope and nails him with a tombstone piledriver, and the charismatic Enigma, the former WWE champion, is eliminated. We are down to 2, the Game Triple H and the dead man, The Undertaker. They face off in the ring with Triple H charging into a big boot. Undertaker works over Hunter in the corner. Taker charges with a boot, but Triple H avoids it. Triple H follows it up by sending Taker head first into the chain. Taker falls into the ring. Triple H goes up top. He looks for an axe handle but gets caught with a choke slam, but kicks out at 2. Triple H eventually turns things around with a spine buster and a 2 count of his own. Triple H sends The Undertaker into the chain and looks for a pedigree on the floor, but Taker reverses and catapults the game into the chain this time. Taker looks for the tombstone pile driver. Triple H reverses it. Both men go over the top and Triple H lands on his feet with Undertaker in position for a tombstone of his own, but the dead man shifts his momentum and he ends up grabbing Triple H in position for a tombstone. He hits it but only gets a 2 count as Triple H is able to get his foot on the rope. We get a rope break inside of the Elimination Chamber on this occasion. Both men reach their feet and it's the Game who gains the advantage, nailing the dead man with a pedigree, but Taker kicks out at 2. Triple H and Taker then begin to trade punches, with Taker gaining the advantage, but Triple H reverses an Irish whip and begins punching Taker in the corner. Taker grabs Triple H up for the last ride, like how he eliminated Kozlov earlier in the matchup, but Triple H escapes, hits a pedigree, 1, 2, 3, and the Game is going to WrestleMania as your WWE champion. I thought this was a really good chamber match. Edge being eliminated so early was a great bit of storytelling. You know, it was shocking to see the champion, especially a heel like Edge, who for so long used his relationship with Vicky Guerrero to keep that championship, to see him kind of be put in a situation where someone can get one back over Edge, and you know, he sold it really well. The shock on Edge's face, like, just, it was so good. It was so well done. The reaction from the crowd was great. The reaction from the people in the chamber match was great. Edge's reaction, he sold it so well, he couldn't believe it. And you know, being guaranteed a new champion helped add to the suspense of the matchup going forward of who's going to win, especially in the ending stage when we were down to Jeff Hardy, Taker, Triple H, you know, 3 former WWE champions. You know, we don't have to talk about Undertaker and Triple H and stuff, but you know, we're talking about 2009 Jeff Hardy just coming off winning the belt at Armageddon, losing it at the Rumble. He was so over. He definitely could have been someone that fans wanted to see main event at WrestleMania. You know, Undertaker's Undertaker. Of course, he'd go on to WrestleMania and have a classic with Shawn Michaels, which, you know, we'll talk about more later. And yet, like, it's Triple H, of course, as well in there. Great closing moments with all 3 of those guys. Even after Hardy was eliminated, you know, we still had Taker and Triple H with a great closing stretch. A mini matchup between the two, going back and forth, a lot of near falls, and Triple H eventually getting the win. Yeah, really fun matchup, really good Elimination Chamber match. Lots of high spots with Jeff Hardy, you know, coming off the top of the pod, and you know, they made use of the steel around the ring, and it was a good matchup, one of the best chamber matchups in my opinion. And you know, we'll talk about chamber matches more later on with our main event, but yeah, a great opener and a great start to the show. show. Backstage, Edge is complaining to Vicky, but Vicky tells Edge it was his fault, and then we get a video package for our next matchup between Randy Orton and Shane McMahon. The video recaps Randy punting Vince and then Stephanie saying she won't fire Randy, but she has something bigger planned for him, which is revealed to be Shane McMahon returning, coming back to defend his family's honor, including jumping in front of Randy as he tried to punt Stephanie backstage. Then we go back to the arena. Randy Orton cuts a promo before his matchup. He asks Shane how is his father. Randy says Vince probably at home with Linda, hoping that his only son will avenge him, but Vince is helpless. We'll watch on as Shane McMahon cries out in pain. Randy says he won't stop until he takes out the McMahon family, and he will make his legacy at the expense of Shane's, and the McMahons will have no choice but to watch as Randy takes his rightful place in the main event of WrestleMania. Of course, this is coming off Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble last month. Randy enters first with legacy absent for this holds barred matchup, and then here comes the money. It is Shane O'Mac, and when we see Stephanie watching on from backstage, Shane starts off by landing some punches to Randy, but Randy gains control with a boot to the midsection and begins working over Shane. Shane fights back with more punches and sends Randy to the outside. McMahon follows up with a baseball slide. Shane O'Mac then introduces a table and a trash can to this no-holds-barred contest before Randy is able to turn things around with a backbreaker and then drives McMahon into the apron. Orton begins working over Shane in the ring and lands a back suplex before removing the turnbuckle pad to whip Shane back first into the exposed buckle. This allows Randy to work over the back of McMahon. Shane is able to roll out of the ring. Orton takes his time walking around the ring posing. He thinks he has Shane beat, but this allows Shane O'Mac to grab the kendo stick from under the ring, and he goes to work on Randy using the kendo stick. On the outside, Shane hits a clothesline and hits Randy in the head with a monitor from the announcer's table. This busts Randy open. Shane lays Orton on the table and he goes to the top rope, but Legacy interfere. DiBiase and Rhodes beat down Shane. Cody goes to grab a chair while Ted holds Shane, but Shane is able to move at the last moment and Rhodes hits DiBiase by mistake. Shane then hits a DDT to Cody on the chair. Shane O'Mac sets Rhodes up in the corner, places the trash can on top of him. He climbs to the opposite corner. You know what Shane McMahon's going to do. He goes coast to coast on Cody Rhodes, and with Legacy taken out, Shane turns his attention back to Randy, who's still out on the announce table. Shane goes back to the top rope and he dives off with an elbow, but Orton is able to move out of the way and Shane goes crashing through the announce table. Randy tells DiBiase to take Cody out of here to make sure he is alright, and we are back to a one-on-one contest. Randy hits his rope hanging DDT on Shane as Shane is trying to make his way back into the ring. Randy goes for 3 covers but is only able to get a 2 count each time. Randy then brings the table that was introduced earlier into the ring and sets it up. He then sets Shane on the top rope and suplexes Shane through the table but can only get a 2 count. Randy then bashes Shane's head into the broken piece of the table before laying the boots into Shane, followed by a knee and another 2 count. Randy looks for the punt but Shane is able to hit a spear. Shane then grabs a chair and begins hitting Randy's leg and ankle with the chair, of course working over the leg of Orton so he cannot use the punt. Randy pleads with Shane to stop but Shane lands another chair shot. Randy is down. Shane sees an opportunity to gain revenge and looks to punt Randy, but as he charges in, Randy hits an RKO and gets the pinfall victory. And of course it looks like Randy wants to punt Shane after the match, but of course he's selling his leg, he's selling the ankle, he doesn't go for it. And yeah, this was a really good hardcore match. It's matches like this why people love Shane McMahon. People were fans of Shane McMahon before he came back and became the best in the world. It was stuff like this, there's hardcore matches like this. He'd always do some insane stunts, you know, going through tables, going off the top rope through the announce table. And yeah, like hardcore matches like this, you were able to hide the weaknesses in Shane, and these like crazy stunts are what like made people fans of Shane McMahon. So you got the best of Shane McMahon in here. He's in there with Randy Orton, and you know, it's 2009 Randy Orton. He just won the Royal Rumble. A lot of people would say this is peak Randy Orton, and yeah, so really good hardcore match and a fun match to watch here on this card, and it was exactly what you wanted and what you would expect between Randy and Shane. I like the finish where Shane starts working over the leg of Randy so Randy cannot use the punt, and you know, Shane's so caught up in getting revenge for Vince and getting revenge for his family after Randy punted Vince that once Shane sees Randy in a position for him to go for a punt, he's so caught up in getting revenge, he's so caught up in getting payback. Instead of trying to win the match, he goes for the punt, which is a move that Shane doesn't really do. Randy sees it coming, catches him, RKO out of nowhere, and gets the win. And even after the match, you could tell Randy wanted to punch Shane, but he just didn't have it in him after the work Shane did. So yeah, very fun matchup. Really enjoyed this one. And yeah, it's exactly what you want from a no-holds-barred match between Shane McMahon and Randy Orton. Our next matchup is the All-American American Jack Swagger defending the ECW Championship against Finlay, who of course has Hornswoggle by his side. Finlay takes control over Swagger using his experience targeting the leg of Swagger. Finlay sets Swagger up in the corner, but Swagger avoids an oncoming Finlay, and then Swagger sends the Irishman into the ring post, and Swagger tries to wear down Finlay, working over the arm of Finlay with various submissions. Finlay reverses a power slam into a backbreaker for a 2 count, but Finlay cannot keep control because Swagger is able to drive him into the corner. There's a bit of mistiming here because Finlay was still down in the corner when Swagger first charged in, so Swagger kind of has to back up. He comes in again. Finlay tries to go up and over for a roll up, but it was a bit sloppy, it was a bit slow. I think Swagger rolled a bit too much and his shoulders weren't down, so Finlay had to kind of adjust the pin a bit, and you could hear him just shouting at the ref to count it. But then we get back into the match. Swagger once again drives Finlay into the corner and begins working over Finlay. Swagger goes for a suplex off the top, but Finlay is able to cut him off. Finlay goes up to the second rope, then hits a diving crossbody for 2. Finlay keeps the pressure on Swagger and picks him up in a fireman's carry. Hornswoggle is now up on the apron for some reason. He's up there for no reason. Finlay's the one in control. Swagger then escapes the fireman's carry, pushes Finlay into Hornswoggle, knocking Swoggle off the apron. Swagger hits the gut wrench powerbomb and retains the championship. Not much really to say on this matchup. I love Finlay. I think Finlay is a great worker, and Swagger at this point in his career, he was still early on, he was still a bit green, and that's why they put him in this matchup with a veteran like Finlay. But the match wasn't great. A few sloppy moments, a few mistimed things, and just the overall pace of the match, it was slow. At the early stages of the matchup where Finlay would work over the leg of Swagger, then Swagger started working over the arm of Finlay, and then we kind of just get into like this, okay, let's take it home, let's get into the finishing stretch. Hornswoggle randomly getting up on the apron for no reason while Finlay's in control. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like this matchup, the pacing of the matchup wasn't good, the match itself wasn't good, not a lot happened. It wasn't like an entertaining match, it wasn't a fun match. If I did star ratings, I probably wouldn't even give this 1 star. It'd be like half a star or something like that. I just, as much as I love Finlay, I just did not enjoy this matchup. Backstage, we see HBK praying before his match with JBL, and that is our next matchup. We get a video package recapping the feud from Shawn Michaels being hired by JBL to make sure he goes to WrestleMania as world champion, and laying down in a #1 contenders match to Shawn finally turning and super kicking JBL at the Rumble before HBK also super kicks Cena and puts JBL on top. This was enough, and Cena kicked out and hit an AA for the win. So of course this pisses JBL off and is not happy with Shawn. JBL asks Shawn what does he want. Does he want his release from his contract? Shawn says he wants to kick JBL's teeth down his throat. So JBL makes a challenge, a match at No Way Out. If HBK wins, he's paid everything he owns, but if JBL wins, Shawn must work for JBL for the rest of his life. So here we are, all or nothing, JBL versus Shawn Michaels. Shawn's wife Rebecca has Shawn in the crowd, and JBL stares at her as he makes his entrance. Out comes HBK and we get the match underway. Both men lock up and JBL sends Shawn into the corner and starts trash talking. Shawn begins unloading, which strikes onto JBL, but Bradshaw rolls out of the ring. He hands Shawn a chair. The Heartbreak Kid is angry, he's letting his emotions out, so JBL is trying to bait him into getting disqualified, but Shawn doesn't fall for his tricks and he begins unloading with more punches onto JBL. JBL eventually cuts Shawn off as he gets back into the ring. JBL goes for a scoop slam, but Shawn counters and targets the knee of the bigger Bradshaw and locks in a figure 4, but JBL is able to get to the rope. Shawn keeps the submission locked in for a 4 count, but then locks in a crossface, but JBL is able to roll it over into a pin. JBL JBL then sends Shawn into the corner and HBK goes over the top to the floor. JBL takes control, dropping elbows repeatedly onto Michaels, all while staring over at Shawn's wife. JBL follows up with a short arm clothesline for a 2 count, and JBL keeps on Shawn. Shawn eventually fights back and lands a swinging neckbreaker. HBK tries to take control, but JBL once again whips Michaels into the corner. JBL goes for a top rope suplex, but Shawn fights back and knocks JBL off the top. HBK looks for an elbow drop, but JBL is able to avoid it. JBL is able to hit a clothesline from hell, but Shawn Michaels is able to kick out. JBL hits a second clothesline from hell, but instead of going for the pin, JBL stares at Rebecca and kicks Shawn out of the ring. JBL is looking to win this one by countout, but Shawn gets in at the count of 9. JBL once again sends Shawn out of the ring, this time in front of his wife and his family. JBL starts trash talking Rebecca, who hits JBL, allowing HBK to once again gain control of this contest. Shawn slams JBL and once again goes for the elbow drop, this time connecting. Michael tunes up the band, he hits sweet chin music and gets the victory. Shawn Michaels then celebrates by giving his wife a kiss and they leave together. And this was an okay matchup. It was nothing special. It's not one of Shawn Michaels' best matches that would actually come next month at WrestleMania, as we kind of mentioned with The Undertaker earlier. But you know, this one, it was okay. It was solid. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't like the greatest Shawn Michaels match you'll ever see, but it's probably not it's not the worst, I don't think. It told a decent story of Shawn trying to fight for his family and JBL kind of getting caught up in that, and that kind of costing JBL with him at the end. You know, he wants to send a message. He, instead of going for the cover off the second clothesline, he kicks Shawn out. He then gets in Shawn's wife's face, and then that ends up costing him again because she hits him. That allows Shawn to turn things around and eventually get the win. So yeah, it's an okay matchup, but it's not the greatest matchup. Todd Grisham backstage interviews Chris Jericho before the World Championship Elimination Chamber match. Jericho says he's the best in the world at what he does and he'll become World Champion here tonight. Jericho follows up by saying after he wins he'll invite Ric Flair to come out of retirement and give him a chance to become 17-time World Champion. Then he says he won't do that because it's not worth his time. This of course is leading to Jericho's matchup with the Legends at WrestleMania. In the arena, the chamber lowers for our main event. The champion John Cena is first out, which means he'll be starting in a pod. Next out are Mike Knox and Kane, who take their place inside of a pod. Kofi Kingston is out next. He's supposed to have the final pod, but he gets attacked from behind by Edge. Edge sends Kofi into the steps. He grabs the chair and concertos Kofi between the chair and the steps. Edge, not supposed to be in this matchup, attacking Kofi from behind, and he takes his spot. Rey Mysterio comes out to check on Kofi. Rey is in this match. He tries to go after Edge, but Edge is holding the pod closed. Out comes Chris Jericho. It'll be Jericho and Mysterio who start this matchup, as commentary wonder if Edge is a legal participant of the matchup. The referees lock the chamber, the bell rings, and the match is underway, so I guess Edge is in. Jericho works over Rey in the early stages with a headlock. Mysterio fights back and picks up the pace. He connects with a head scissors and sets Jericho up for the 619. Y2J rolls out, but Mysterio keeps on Jericho by diving out onto him. Back in the ring, Rey punches Jericho in the corner. He Irish whips Jericho into the opposite corner, charges in shoulder first, but Jericho is able to move out of the way, and Rey goes flying into the ring post, but also head first into one of the pods. It sounded nasty, it sounded bad. Rey crashing head first into the pod. Jericho locks a sleeper in on Rey, but Mysterio tries to fight back, but is dumped over the top rope onto the steel. Jericho looks to slingshot Mysterio, but Rey lands on the wall of the chamber. He climbs up and hangs off the roof and drops down into a Hurricane Rana. Rey follows this up with a seated senton for a 2 count. Rey connects with a bulldog and whip bump men down. The countdown begins for our next entrant. The Big Red Machine Kane is the first to be released from his pod, and he beats down Mysterio and Jericho before staring down Edge. Jericho tries to capitalize on a distracted Kane when he's looking at Edge with a sleeper, but is sent over the top rope into the ring. Kane beats down Rey some more, and Jericho attacks from behind, starts working over Kane, but Kane fights back and clotheslines Y2J over the top rope and onto the steel floor. Kane targets the knee of Jericho slamming it into the steel. Mysterio goes after Kane as he tries to get back in the ring. Mysterio baseball slides Kane in the ribs before Kane turns things around with a big right hand. Back in the ring, Mysterio counters Kane and sets him up for a lionsault from Jericho, but Jericho misses and eats a boot from Kane. Ray sets Jericho up for a 619, but Kane catches him for a chokeslam. Before he can do the move, Jericho runs in but is also caught by Kane. Kane pushes Jericho away, picks up Mysterio for a chokeslam, but Ray is able to reverse it and sets Kane up for a 619. He dials it up and connects. Kane is stunned and turns around into a code breaker. Mysterio and Jericho then go after each other and both men go over the top rope to the outside, with Jericho crashing down into the steel. Mysterio goes up to the top of a pod and connects with a seated senton, and that is enough to eliminate the Big Red Machine Kane. Mike Knox is then released from his pod and he boots Ray right in the face. Knox works over Mysterio and Jericho for a bit before Jericho sends Knox to the outside. Jericho goes for a dive but is caught and Jericho is sent into the chamber. Mysterio then dives into the back of Knox, but Mysterio, like Jericho, is then sent into the chamber and gets his leg trapped between the chains. As Mysterio is hanging upside down, this allows Mike Knox to beat him down. Knox turns his attention back to Jericho, sending him into Cena's pod and throws Jericho back into the ring. Knox once again goes for Mysterio, who tries to use his speed before being cut off with a backbreaker. Knox holds Mysterio similar to like a Sister Abigail style position, and he pauses before he does a move, and this allows Jericho to come in, hit a code breaker, and that is it for Mike Knox. Mike Knox will not be going to WrestleMania 25 as your World Heavyweight Champion. Edge is the next to be released from the pod, but before he can leave the pod, Ray goes after him, trying to get revenge for what happened to Kofi Kingston before the matchup started. Mysterio rams Edge's head into the glass. Ray sends Edge into the ring and hits a crossbody. Mysterio keeps on Edge before Jericho takes him out. Jericho and Edge then start going at it, with Jericho hitting a bulldog on Edge. Jericho goes back to work on Mysterio. He goes for a linesaw, but Mysterio gets the knees up. Edge follows up with a sit-out reverse DDT, only for a 2 count before sending Ray into the corner. Edge looks for a spear, but Ray is able to leapfrog him and Edge hits the buckle. Jericho goes for a code breaker, but Edge grabs onto the top rope, so Jericho cannot connect and Jericho ends up crashing down. Edge then charges at Mysterio, who sets Edge up for a 619, but once again Jericho takes out Mysterio. Jericho and Ray fight on the top rope. Edge joins them and Jericho hits a sunset flip powerbomb from the top, taking out Ray and Edge. Edge is the first to his feet. He sends Jericho to the outside before putting the boots to Mysterio, and the clock begins to count down, and Edge gets a worried look on his face because John Cena is now in the matchup. Edge charges at Cena, but Cena hits a shoulder tackle, followed by a second. He hits Jericho with a clothesline, belly to Edge, a fisherman suplex to Jericho. Cena hits a bulldog on Edge, sends Jericho out of the ring, proto bomb to Edge. He's got him set up for a 5-knuckle shuffle, and Cena connects. He picks Edge up, he's looking for the AA, but Jericho comes out of nowhere, hits the code breaker. Cena falls into the ropes, 619 by Mysterio, followed by a spear. 1, 2, 3. John Cena is eliminated by Edge, and we get the classic Edge face meme. We are down to 3. John Cena has been eliminated. He's only been in the match for about a minute. He's already gone, and we are guaranteed a new World Heavyweight Champion. One of these 3 men will walk into WrestleMania 25 as champion: Edge, Chris Jericho, and Rey Mysterio. Rey fights off Edge and Jericho. He sets up for a double 619. Edge moves, but Rey connects with Jericho. Edge charges at Rey, but Rey is able to avoid and sends Edge into the ring post. Rey goes for the West Coast pop onto Jericho, but Jericho catches him and puts him in the walls of Jericho. But Rey is able to roll through into a cover and gets the pinfall. Chris Jericho has been eliminated, and we are down to Rey Mysterio and Edge. Edge looks to spear Mysterio, but Rey avoids once again and gets a roll up for a 2 count. The fans are behind Rey. They want Rey to win this one, and Rey gets another close 2 count off a springboard crossbody. Rey reverses an Edge sunset flip with a kick to the head for another 2 count. Rey trying to put away Edge with everything he's got. Ray goes for a springboard moonsault, but is caught by Edge. But Ray is able to turn it around into a DDT for another close near fall. Ray goes to the top, but Edge is able to connect with a big boot, and Ray crashes down onto the steel. But Ray once again takes advantage of the match, and he reverses a powerbomb attempt into a fist buster out on the steel. Ray connects with a 619 to the back of the head of Edge. He charges at Edge, but is launched into the pod. It looked nasty, similar to if you go back to my Royal Rumble 2008 review. There was a spot in that match where Mysterio charged at Edge, and Edge kind of launched Mysterio over him onto the top rope, and Ray landed on the top rope. It was similar here, but except instead of landing it, Ray charged at Edge, and Edge just sent him headfirst into a pod. Back in the ring, Edge hits a spear and is the new World Heavyweight Champion. The man who started the night off as WWE Champion ends it as the new World Heavyweight Champion after winning a match he wasn't even supposed to be in. Really good chamber match. Edge sneaking his way into the match after losing his title earlier on in the night, and then winning this matchup was a nice story to tell throughout the night. I don't think anyone expected, if you go back to 2009, you watch this show for the first time, it probably would have been insane. I don't think anyone would have predicted this. I don't think anyone would have seen it coming. So yeah, great bit of storytelling there with Edge from the start of the night. Edge, he's the ultimate opportunist, and this is the perfect way of utilizing that and showcasing that part of Edge's character. The chamber match itself, had a lot of nice action. Rey Mysterio, Jericho, and Edge doing a lot of great work in it, with Rey doing some great high spots. The Hurricane Rana from the top of the pod, the senton to Kane off the top of the pod, Rey getting sent headfirst into a pod. A lot of great action, especially with those three. And you cannot forget Cena getting surprisingly eliminated so quickly. I feel like that really helped as well. And it was a nice little story beat to this matchup where Cena gets released from his pod, and Jericho and Edge are two heels. Mysterio's a face who've been beating up on Rey for the past 5 minutes before since Edge got released from his pod. But they know Cena is such a threat that all three of them work together, hit their finishes to eliminate Cena again. But I like that bit of this matchup. I like that little story they tell there. And yeah, overall, really amazing main event, really good chamber match. And overall on the show, I thought No Way Out 2009 was a good show. The two chamber matches were great, and the overarching story with Edge is a real reason why this is a great show, and this is one of my favorite No Way Out shows, and one of my favorite shows involving the Elimination Chamber and the Elimination Chamber stipulation. That overarching story is why this is such a great show, and it holds this show. It's why I rate the show so highly. Shane and Randy Orton, also a lot of fun. JBL vs HBK was okay. Finney and Swagger wasn't good, but for the most part, I still really enjoyed the show, and a lot of that goes down to one, Shane and Randy delivering a fun hardcore brawl, but secondly, and more importantly, is the two really good Elimination Chamber matchups with that great overarching story with Edge. I really do enjoy No Way Out 2009, and if you have Netflix, or if you're in the US and you still have Peacock, if you've never watched No Way Out 2009 before, I definitely do recommend watching it. Even if you just watch the two chamber matches and just watch Randy and Shane, you will not be disappointed. But yeah, overall, I do really enjoy the show, even if there are some parts of it that I don't necessarily love. I do think the positives and the good parts completely outweigh the bad and the negative parts. That's my retro review of No Way Out 2009. Let me know what your thoughts of No Way Out 2009 are in the comment section below. Leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. And yeah, let me know what are some other shows you'd like to see me review in the future, and I will probably do them. So yeah, that is it for the second retro review. We've taken a look at Royal Rumble 2008. We've taken a look at No Way Out 2009. We're on the road to WrestleMania. We've covered two Road to WrestleManias from 2 different years, and in my next retro review we'll be taking a look at what many consider to be the greatest WrestleMania all time. I will be reviewing WrestleMania 17. So yeah, if you are excited for that, do subscribe and stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.